Hey, what's going on, everyone? June here with Hapa英会話, and joining me today is Kelly. Welcome back, Kelly. How you doing today?
Good. Hey, how are you?
Good. So today, let's talk about euphemism. And euphemisms are something that we use quite a bit here in the United States. If you're not familiar with it, then it may be a little confusing. So today, I want you to enlighten us on what it is and how we use it, and maybe you can provide us some with examples of it. So let's start with what euphemisms are. What are they?
For me, euphemisms, the most basic way to explain it is it's a way to say one thing, not directly saying it. So using like another phrase or different language to say something. And usually it's something that might be like a sensitive topic or something that's uncomfortable or something that even if it's not uncomfortable, there's just like that euphemism has kind of taken over as the way that we say it, not the actual English words. I don't know. Do you want to get into some examples or do you want to...
I think providing examples are probably the easiest way for our viewers to understand what they exactly are. So let's get into the examples.
Okay, so for example, and I feel like this is pretty similar in Japanese, but it's been a while, so correct me if I'm wrong. The verb to die, right? Shinu. You wouldn't say your grandmother died, right? It's a little bit rude to use shinu in that respect, right? You would say like nakunaru.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of similar in English too. You would say not my grandmother is dead, my grandmother passed away. Right? So those words together kind of don't mean anything. It's almost close to an idiom, right? These are really similar, I think. But pass away is kind of a more indirect, sensitive way to talk about something that's a little uncomfortable, like someone dying. So that would be a euphemism.
Maybe just a little off topic here, but I just want to quickly discuss like die and pass away, for example. So like, let's say like your pet passing away. I think, if I had, I've had some pets growing up that passed away. And when I, let my friends and other people know about the passing of my pet, I would typically use the word pass away instead of die. Are there any situations you can think of where you would actually use the word die instead of pass away to talk about the death of somebody or an animal?
That's a really good question. And, on the news, you hear die. It almost feels more like it's impersonal, right? If I'm a newscaster, I'm telling you the facts. I'm being very direct language. I'm telling you exactly what happened. I don't really need to use euphemisms there because I need to tell you directly exactly what that information is. Whereas when it's something more personal that you kind of have more of a relationship with, that's when, almost out of respect, it feels like, you would use the euphemism. There's
definitely like that personal connection that you're talking about when you're using that word with like your pet or maybe somebody that you know. But if it's somebody that maybe you may not know, I do see it a little bit more in the news. It actually kind of reminds me of when Kobe Bryant passed away. So right now I'm using the word passed away, but
right?
But I remember when that exact day, I got just all these messages from, my friends and family members, and it specifically said Kobe died. It wasn't Kobe passed away. I think every single one of my friends used the word died instead of passed away. And in that kind of situation, it kind of makes sense because like you mentioned, it gets straight to the point. Like of course, for a second, you're like, wait, what's going on? But there's really no other way to interpret those two words or anything else, right? Do you have any other examples for euphemisms?
Hey guys, I do have a list here.
Okay, so let's go through
it. The problem is the ones that I could think of are, let's say, bodily functions.
Okay. Bodily function.
Bodily functions. So this came up because I have a student who's actually doing a movie and TV class, and they were watching, I think it was How I Met Your Mother or Friends. And they were talking about St. Patrick's Day. That's a really big kind of drinking holiday in the States. And when you drink too much, things happen afterwards when you're a little bit drunk or the next morning or you have a hangover. And in this one episode, so many euphemisms for throw up.
Ah, right.
Came up. Polite company, you're not going to say, I threw up so much last night, right? It's a little gross to bring up in conversation. This is a perfect example of when you'd want to use a euphemism. So it's not with like pass away where we're kind of being respectful to the person who died. This is where it's a little gross to think about in detail.
Right.
A lot of them in English are actually for kind of gross stuff like that, where everyone knows what you mean, but you use the euphemism so you don't have to go into like graphic detail. There's actually quite a lot, and it feels like some of them are worse. So like one of them is to, I don't even want to say it actually. The one that they used in this episode was to blow chunks.
Blow chunks. I feel like that's even more graphic than to throw up.
It's grosser. Another one that's a little bit complicated because you really have to kind of read between the lines and really look at the grammar is to pray to the porcelain god. So if you guys, I'm sure in Japan, by the way, Toto's amazing. Most toilets are made out of that hard white kind of stone, and that's usually porcelain. And if you think getting on your knees and praying to the porcelain god means you're throwing up in the toilet, right? So that one I think is definitely a euphemism in that it's a couple steps away from the actual language, and you really have to think of the imagery of, even if you don't want to, what's actually going on here. So the student actually was like, did they go to church? Is that like Christmas where you go to church the next day? I was like, no,
makes sense, but not in that situation.
Little different. So that's a really good example of a euphemism that's very far from the actual grammar that you really have to kind of think about to get the full meaning of.
Because that expression also reminds me of an expression. I mean, I haven't used it in a long time, but maybe back in my college days, we would say something like, he was hugging the toilet all night.
Hugging the toilet, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, right. Oh, I love my toilet so much. It's waiting for the next round.
All come out.
Yeah. And with bodily fluids, one that you might hear, now you have a young kid, so I'm sure you might start using this. If you guys have ever heard that you need to go number one.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Obviously, you know, like if you're in class or if you're around friends, you don't want to like go into graphic detail of what you're going to do in the bathroom. So you say number one and number two. And a funny story, when I used to work on TV sets, instead of saying, hey, I need to step off, I'm going to run to the bathroom, which usually would be like 20 blocks away, or you'd have to like literally run. Again, run to the bathroom. That would be a euphemism, right? Running to the bathroom. I'm actually going to use the toilet.
The bathroom. You
would actually say, so a 10-1 to run to the bathroom to pee. So yeah, I would say I'm going to 10-1.
Like hand gestures for those,
So 5 and 5 is 10. 1. You're going to 10-1.
Very interesting. Yeah, speaking of, with kids, an expression that I feel like I've used more this year than my entire life after having my son Ruka is the expression blowout. So he blowout.
That's definitely a number two.
That's a big number two right there. Yeah. But I feel like the imagery for a blowout is a little bit more than saying he had a number two. But, I guess it's a little bit different, when you have a blowout, just for reference is when everything comes out of the diaper and you have a huge mess going on.
Huge mess. And you can think of the imagery, right? Like forceful
coming out,
like explosion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't want to go into graphic detail of exactly what happened, and I can still get the image when you
still get the image. Maybe we'll touch on one last one before we wrap up today. How about the word let go of something?
That was the next one on my list.
Perfect. All right, so let's get into that one.
So this is not, I'm sorry to say, from the Frozen movie, like Let It Go, the whole song that everybody's singing. This is, and again, business English. You're going to see a lot of this indirect to make things a little more polite, to make things a little bit less kind of straightforward and more businessy. That means you got fired. So it means that you made a mistake at your job and they said, you don't work here anymore. You were let go.
Yeah, exactly. And typically, right, I think when you are the one being fired, then it's more common for the person to get fired to say that I got fired. Because let go is kind of like a very softer, easier, because you can be fired, you can maybe layoff might be within the context of being let go as well. But I think, when the company, lets other people know that we decided to fire this person, that word fire seems so strong that we let him go. We let her go. Yeah.
Fire. I mean, even just saying I was fired, that's like a very strong kind of internal reaction. I mean, when you're telling the story of why you no longer have a job, you might use let go so you don't feel so bad, right? You're not quite as embarrassed. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't really want to get into the details of why you got fired. So let go is just a very good word that you could go to when talking about situations like that. Yeah, perfect. Alrighty, guys. Well, I hope you guys found this video useful today. Don't forget, Kelly offers amazing lessons on Cafe Talk. All of her information is listed in the description below, or you can go to cafetalk.com and find her there. Kelly, thank you very much for all of your information today. All right, guys. Catch you guys again next time. Bye.
See you guys. Thanks.